Have Christine Grant and Tom Althouse, both amazing authors. Private Benjamin. You guys might remember that movie. That is a real life story from Christine, and she basically had that stolen from her. And of course, we know The Matrix. We've had Tom on many times, and we're going to talk about, why does Hollywood do this? Why do they take, authors' works and profit off them? And what does that mean? Because they've taken your work and they basically twisted it and all kind of crazy stuff. So this is great because I know, Tom, you've been doing this for a long time. Christine, I think this is one of your first time we've had you on. We're going to disclose, what they did with you as well. Oh my God. So both of you have incredible stories. For you coming out like this basically allows other people to come out and reveal even more. So that's what I love about these shows. It gives more people the inspiration and the courage to come out and share their own stories. So thank you very much for joining us today, guys.
Pleasure.
My pleasure. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so let's start with you.
Okay?
Yeah, your volume's perfect. Let's start with you first, Christine. Saving Private Benjamin. All right, I'll bring up the movie with Goldie Hawn. Won't show a clip or anything, but I'll show the actual photo of her. But that was your real life. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Okay. So what they did with the movie, the essence and some of the conversation, if you will, and things, the whole sort of thematic attitude, meta message given out in the movie was my story. How it was portrayed in the film, they made some small changes or significant changes, but still the essence of it was mine. When I was 18, I literally ran away from home, and I was 18, so I could legally go, and I went to Hawaii, and I had a lot of adventures there. One day I was walking down the beach, and this surfer says, "Is your name Christine?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, I think it's your dad. He's been combing the beaches for about 6 weeks looking for you." I was gone for about a year. Okay. So I met up with my dad, and he said, "Your mom and I have discussed it, and we are willing to pay for your college." And I was raised in a large family, where we worked our buns off even as kids. And it was kind of, if you want something, figure it out, largely. And so I said, "Really? You guys are going to send me to college?" We promise. Okay. So I come back, and my parents said, "We've decided you're going to nursing school." I said, "Are you kidding? I hate the sight of blood." No. Your mother's a nurse. One of your sisters is now in nursing school. You're not going to be a starving artist. You're going to nursing school. I went, give me a break. I had given up this huge life, in Hawaii, where I was on 3 episodes of Hawaii Five-0 with speaking parts. I was asked to join the Screen Actors Guild. I drove a Boston Whaler, gave parasailing rides. I mean, Paris Hilton's uncle was my boyfriend. Okay, so I had this big life. And so I'm going to nursing school. I said, "Oh, you've got to be kidding." My older brother says, "I've got an idea. Why don't you join the military?" And I said, "The military? What?" I'm like this blonde beach bunny. He said, "Yeah, no." He said, "It'll be perfect. I mean, come on, you can choose Europe. They'll station you in Europe, and then they'll pick your MOS, Military Occupational School. For you, you'll be a secretary. You'll be in little spiky high heels and a beret, and, it'll be fun." And I said, "God, that sounds good. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do it." So I joined the military, and boot camp was another whole story. I mean, I literally slept under the bed so that I wouldn't have to toss a coin on it in the morning, getting up at 4 a.m. and all that stuff. But then when I got to Europe, they made me put me in Signal Corps, Foxtrot to Blueberry Hill, come in Zulu 9, move your oscillator button. I drove a 2.5-ton truck, 5/4-ton Jeep, put up 75-foot antennas in the middle of the Black Forest. Did I ever really do that once I was there? No. But my biggest thing, my attitude was, "Are you kidding me? I'm wearing men's clothes. Olive green is not my color. I'm not, what is this?" And so there was a lot of adventures around that. I actually fell in love for the first time with an officer. That's a whole other story. But when I got out of the military, I was all of 21 years old. So I joined as a late teen. I was barely 19 and came out at 21. And I took a college course, a script writing course. And I did an overview of my, and my last name started with a B, by the way. But I did an overview of my story there in the military, my experience, a character sketch, and the first act. The script writing professor worked for MGM, just happened to, right? And he says, A++++, this is the best material that has ever crossed my desk. See me after class. He then just interviewed me, took copious notes for well over 2 hours, just interviewing me and taking notes. Said, thank you very much. And within a year, the movie Private Benjamin came out, starring Goldie Hawn, and which was later on made into a TV series. I mean, the theme of it, the blonde beach bunny that goes to Germany and says, you know, where are the condos, was totally the flavor of my story.
Wow.
And so in 1989, I was on a ski trip with my husband at the time in Aspen, Colorado, and they had an engagement party for Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith at the Jerome Hotel. So we're in our after ski attire and we're with a couple friends. And so they said, we went to the Jerome Hotel and all these people trying to get into this big party were dressed in formal wear, wrapped around the building. So one of our friends said, oh, let's sneak up the back steps. Okay. Oh, look, there's some grab a tray, everybody. Let's pretend we're waiters, you know. So I follow the guys up the steps in the back of this hotel into the men's room. And they look at me and they said, hello, you're in the men's room. And I said, you're right. Take my tray. And I walked into the party like I owned it. And it was laden with movie stars, you know, just Cher was there, Jane Fonda was there, Sally Field was there. This is 1989. And of course, Goldie Hawn and Kurt were there. And so my husband got in eventually, and he was speaking with Goldie. And by the way, everyone that was at the party was dressed just like us in that uniform, after ski, casual chic.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So so he met up with Goldie and said, you have to meet my wife. That movie is so much her story. And it was stolen from her. And she came over to me and she was as sweet as could be and said, I want to just apologize. I can't even imagine what that must have felt like to go through that. And I don't know what to say except, can I give you a hug? She was very, very sweet.
Ah, that's amazing. Yeah. So there's a lot more to this story. That's a fantastic, introduction. We love that. And now we're going to go over to Tom and get his overview of having the Matrix series stolen from him. Tom, thanks for coming on again. Tell us a little bit about your story.
My pleasure. Really, it's very much God-centered. It really comes from a Christian boy going to a Christian grad school who, before he arrives there, goes through an experience where I ask God, if you will, like David with his hands on the altar in the Holy of Holies, saying, you know, can we see your face? Can we prove ourselves as your children? It was really very much that kind of idea of I wanted to have God prove all the Sunday school stuff, all that kind of stuff. Here we are. You know, if we're your children, show yourself. Pretty audacious. But anyway, I got this idea that I was being lifted off this carpet in the center of this room in Warrington, Pennsylvania. And the idea was that I could feel this presence, this spirit, and I felt like I was being lifted. It was an amazing feeling. I shared that on the Roseanne Barr show too. And it's like, you know, then all of a sudden this thought came in my head and it just disappeared. It was like I was being trained with the idea that you have to have a pure mind. If you really want to ask God to be able to commune, meet, that kind of thing, prove, be pure in your mind and learn that discipline. Also, compassion and humility was a prerequisite. I was learning that. And then I realized that writing was a service. If you're going to write good material and create, like you've done, Christine, we have to serve our audience. We have to serve audience. Usually comes from a place of like Shakespeare in Love, a real life story that we're translating to make it palatable for audiences they can benefit from the sharing and encourage them to also maybe create. That was where my heart was. And so what's interesting now, Michael and Christine, is that that house is being sold. That original house where I was at in that room, I did that video and sent. I actually cut the carpets. I cut the carpets where the center, where I was standing in the center, I marked the, center carpet with the next. And it's like, kind of grody. But the thing is, like, that's where it all happened. That's where the matrix came from. And I thought in the future, I've had this feeling that in the future, people might want a piece of that carpet. I'll just give it as a gift. It's like, that's where I was standing when all this came. And that's the genesis of the matrix. Not Chicago in Raven Studios, but actually in Pennsylvania, where there's a lot of turmoil. So that's kind of the background. A lot of things are happening now that I'm very excited about. And like what we've all been through. We've all been through the grinder, and we come out looking like this, where we just feel good and bright and glowing. And of course, my lights are really hot right now, but it's like just feeling really, really refreshed because we went through it all, survived it all. We're able to give gifts to humanity and came out no worse for the wear. We're still compassionate. We still are humble. We still are able to create. And I think that's the real key, is to create the work as a gift and then not let yourself be altered, changed, tainted, or darkened. And if you can do that, you have succeeded, and your children benefit, loved ones benefit from you having walked that rail and made it. So I just want to share that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely. And of course,
that's a funny thing. These are being made all the time now. They're being made all the time and sent to me. It's so funny. They have one of my mom swinging her hair so it's like kind of cool, Christine, when you get that side of it where people start feeding the love, so we're on that side. So I'd say to anybody, hang in there. If you're working from a good heart, hang in there. It'll only get better. But go ahead, guys.
Yeah. So both of you obviously have a passion for creating God-inspired work, and it was stolen. And so tell us about, why they steal authors' work. Why do they do that?
Women first.
Yes, Christine.
Okay. Well, I have a couple other thefts I'd like to just discuss briefly, if I may.
Sure.
Okay. First, I don't know if you can see this, my Be Friendship Focused Mentor's Guide for Children ages 8 through 12. And it is encourages, it's an 8 to 10 week process that encourages better self-empowerment, conflict resolution, and anti-bullying, which we know there's been an uptake on that. It's always existed, but it's really gotten out of hand, especially with, all the social media and blah, blah. At any rate, my daughter was bullied in middle school by mean girls. I ended up going to the National Mean Girls Conference, swear to Buddha, that was the name, in Orlando. Happened to meet serendipitously the producers, who then invited me to speak at their event the following year after I shared about my daughter's story. Why? Because my background, I'm a family therapist and also an educational psychologist. And so about a month before I was to go to Vegas to this big event, I woke up and went, oh my goodness, I need a product. So that's when I created this mentor's guide, and working in school systems, knowing that unfortunately there's a lot of good-hearted people, but the training isn't always available, the mentoring and the guidance. And actually, so when I started promoting my program on my own time after school for kids, I was met with a lot of aggression, if you will, from some of my colleagues. This is not your job. You're supposed to be assessing, for special education. And I said, I'm doing this on my own time, and I love children and they need the help. And my daughter and I created an Oracle card deck. We're both very artistic, and we did a 26 card manipulative, a word for every letter of the alphabet, like A, the word appreciate. We have a painting of a lion looking at a frog, and the opening sentence, what do I really appreciate about you? A conversation starter. Well, I went around the United States for about 2 years, largely on my own dime, selling the books and the cards to offset my travel. Once in a while, I got paid to speak, but I wasn't a keynote or anything like that. So I really did it for the love of the children. And in the process of that, and that's a whole other story, I came across a wannabe talent for singing and created an album, but I don't have to go into that now. At any rate, so there's that. And then I created my other book, which is Relation Shift, how to write the words you really want to say. And I coined this sort of unique coaching tool, sort of being like Cyrano de Bergerac in drag. Okay, so I download intuitively the right words that a client wants to say to rebuild, to transform any type of relationship stress or woe within any dynamic whatsoever. People that have been estranged, one man for 30 years from his daughter, one letter she got back in his life. I mean, just amazing things. I write eulogies to die for. I coin it. I do a lot of things like that. I happen to get wonderful endorsements from John Gray, Men Are From Mars, Catherine Woodward Thomas, Conscious Uncoupling, Calling in the One, Ariel Ford, Deepak Chopra's publicist, who wrote The Soulmate Secret, and Dr. Christiane Northrup, who's an icon for women. Both of these books, unfortunately, I started out, the people that were putting on the conferences for the children, they published me initially. I was working full time. I was a single mother, and they wanted me to come back and do more and more work, which I didn't have the time off to do so. So I opted out of their publishing and just self-published. And likewise with the relationship book, I started off self-publishing it. Then I went on the Marketer's Cruise, which is, a very uppity event for a lot of people in social media and marketing and creatives and whatnot. And I met this gentleman who encouraged me very strongly to publish with his firm. And unfortunately, it was a ripoff, a total ripoff. And I've encountered so many other people. I've tried the cease and desist letters through Legal Shield because it's very pricey to go to court and go through all of that. And so despite all of that, it's been a nothing burger. And so I'm now in the process of hiring another individual, not a publisher, to reformat, republish, new covers, probably change even the subtitles, redo it all, and then try to promote it to the best of my ability. And again, being a writer, and Tom, I'm sure you can relate to this. You don't go in it like, oh, I'm going to be rich. You go in it, like you said, because you have a calling. You have, there's something you want your life purpose to be expounded and to influence others. I've been through amazingly traumatic events. My life has literally been a roller coaster. Things that you couldn't make up that are so beautiful and amazing, and other things it's like, what the heck? How did you even survive that? And I survived it to my best ability because for some unknown reason, and I want to say it was my soul's contract, I never went on the poor me pity party, but I thought of it like, okay, this is a learning curve. I can surmount, I can move past this and influence others to do the same. You don't allow other people or circumstances to degrade you or bury you alive. You get your big girl pants on or whatever, your big boy pants, and you show up as a positive influencer. And I won't let, no matter what, no one's going to stop that mission for me to do. So I truly believe that.
Yeah, so those are good points. Basically, they're out there watching for people like all of us, you know, that have great information that's going to help humanity, and they hijack it on purpose to benefit for themselves and also to stop you from bringing great insights. Now, I mean, you look at your work, Christine, and it's like, my God, everybody would benefit massively from this, but that's why they come in and stop it out. Tom, tell us about, you know, how they basically hijacked you, and you've been on a mission to overcome.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, this is a great show. I'm so glad the three of us are here together, because this it feeds me. And then it made me think of when Christine was talking, like, we do it as a service. We want to lift humanity. We want to offer a gift to humanity, and we benefit in the end, whether our intention is or not. We're going to benefit in the end better than if we were going for money or something. And so you asked the question too, why do they do it? And what's interesting is, Michael, you know, things were restored to my home, like original draft pieces and everything. And some of those original draft pieces were scenes that I have right here that were used for Sense 8 after the case was thrown. And in it, you have an answer to that question in this phrase from Smith. He says, when Trinity says in the original work, why did you do this to my family? Why? Why? He goes, because it was fun. And really it comes down to that. And there's a thing in Black Sails. In Black Sails, the pirate thing, the character who plays Long John Silver, he's fretting because he has this African-American girlfriend, Caribbean, and he wants to be a good man. And he's asked, you know, what happens when you're going in the dark side? Why is the dark side so compelling? He says, because it feels good. So our answer really is a very shallow, lizard-like answer that causes them to do everything they're doing. And I was told too, don't look for that answer of why they've done it to us, because you're not going to find anything deep, nothing satisfying. You got those that serve and do creative work as a service, and you got those that take because they feel entitled and they want to gain, and they'll get it any way they want, sell their grandmothers out. So this scene, though, that I had, I was so excited to get this back when that stuff was restored to my home, you know, and I believe it's the CIA film department that did it, really, because who else can break into my home and restore the stuff in my bed? You know, it's like, you know, right there's my original drafts that were gone, which is Warner Brothers' plan to stop that. And in this, you see how I call it the neuro link. I call it the neuro right here in the original pages. It's called neuro before even they gave it to Elon Musk. So Jackson Neck, it's right here. And that was restored to me. It says, if the neuro timer is working correctly, and what happens is Trinity is actually in the original work, just to throw this out real quick, Trinity is part of the Smith organization. She's trained, that's why she's so skilled, is she's trained to be a hit babe, if you will. She's trained to work for the agents, but her memories have been erased, and she was Neo's wife in the original story. And her memories are erased, and she's made like a Femme Nikita to take out Neo in the end. And what happens is there's a face-off, and do I have a couple minutes to just read this to you? You want to? Okay, listen to this real quick. I'll try to be fast. But get the gist of this, and they put it in Sense 8. And this is the best scene, I think, one of the best scenes that tell you, I was trying to say that women have worth. You know, as a writer, a gift, part of that was women have worth. Hollywood didn't know what to make of it. There was stuffed guys going like, you know, what do you mean? What do you mean? So you have this where Trinity faces off with Neo after she's been reprogrammed by Smith to be the hit person with all memories wiped. And Smith is waiting in the shadows. And Neo knows this. Now watch what happens. So Neo's talking to Trinity going, we had a daughter. They took that relationship out. And Trinity says, I had a daughter. And Neo says, yes. And she's at gunpoint with him, has a gunpoint. She goes, yes, and you killed her. Raises the gun coolly to shoot and fires. She is trained, right? So she just fires and shoots him. Neo is stunned, as are we, it says. He's wounded. And then you have Trinity go, my orders are to finish you slowly. Smith gave it, right? Now listen what happens. Then what happens is Neo struggles to maintain his wits and fight the pain. And Neo says, if I killed your daughter, then I deserve to die. And Trinity says, shoots again him in the stomach, saying unfeelingly, yes. Now Neo is in terrible pain, near panic. They didn't have the scene. Trinity says, yes, you do. Neo, are you enjoying this, Behringer or Smith? He calls out to the shadows, and Smith appears. Now follow this. Smith says, yes, yes, I am. He's enjoying it, right? And then Trinity, you can hear the passion for the scene, I'm sorry. But Trinity looks confused, and Smith says, oh, do continue, dear. Is he dying? Meaning Neo. She says, yes. She goes, and Smith says, quite certain? That robot-like, high-quality thing. She goes, yes, I shot him in the artery in the stomach. He will bleed to death in a matter of minutes. Then Smith says to Jim, good, isn't she? Then to Trinity, then it's time I told you he was your husband, you know. Trinity goes, I don't understand. Smith says, oh, and did I mention that I killed your daughter? And Neo goes, kill him, honey. And Trinity goes, confused, she raises her gun at Smith. Smith says, go ahead, honey, pull the trigger. Neo's like, shoot him. Smith says, oh, but she can't, can you, darling? Oh, no, she would become violently ill if she shot me, if it's in her programming that we can't. Even that altered stuff is there. Then Trinity says, why are you telling me these things? And Smith says, I wanted you to know the truth in the end before you both die. In all my existence, I have wanted for this time when you and I would watch Neo die, and it was you who killed him. Your memories should be returning right about now through the neuro timer. If the neuro timer is working correctly. This is the bad thing about Neuralink. And then Trinity looks dazed and screams as the memories start coming back and covers her ears. Trinity goes, oh my God, no. Smith says, obviously it's working. Not happy memories, I'm afraid. And Neo's like, baby. And then Smith says, you see, now I get to watch you both suffer at the same time. Why do they take our work? They want to see us suffer, right? And he says to Neo, you see, let me tell you about it. Multiple memories of multiple brutal rapes, watching your daughter burn, seeing footage of her death. You get the idea. Kodak moments, every one, I assure you. Neo tries to get a hold of his gun, holding his gut with a bloody hand. Smith says, even if you could manage to crawl to me, he pulls a gun. I'll shoot you dead myself. My final treat. Oh, but how boring the world will be without you two in it, which is something I want to address in a moment after you guys share. And he says, without you two in it. Oh, well, all good things, raises the gun. The gun explodes out of his hand as he's had it fired at, and Trinity has shot it out of his hand. She can't kill him, but she can shoot it out of his hand. Smith says, now, dear, you're being tiresome now. And Trinity says, near hysterics, here it comes. You know, F you, bastard. What did you do? Why did you do this to my family? Why? And Smith then says, because it was fun. He laughs slightly, not allowed to show emotion. Now, don't interfere again. You can't kill me, but I can kill you. And Neo says, what's the difference? We're both dead. Smith, good point. I'll stop right there, because if we get this all restored, we'll actually make the scene. But the point is, all of that's in there. Why they mess with us, how they enjoy messing with us, and the Neuralink will restore memories in a bad way where they can time it. That is the original Matrix story, where the reason Neo ends up going to Underground is because he gets a word, she's still alive. The architect planned it to release at a certain time, she's still alive, to send him on a cause-effect trail to Underground. You see what I'm saying? It's all there, and they didn't know what to make of it. But I love this scene. I think it's very important because it's a scene that they took the relationship out between Trinity and Neo and made it dumb. It should have been they were in love, married, had a daughter, a little girl at the train station, restored to life at the end. And so at the end in Matrix, what's supposed to be is Trinity and the little girl are both restored to life, joining Neo, watching the identical figures facing off. Does it make any sense? Or did I just ramble? It's a lot. Layers. This is layers from the story that they stripped and didn't understand and simplified. That makes sense? So I could go on and on. I won't, but on and on with all these different things that are in there that are layered, and that gets my passion going. And I want to, like we said, we're trying to do as a service to inspire other people's passion. But when you dissect this scene, there's a lot going on. And it's like, it really shows that, you know, that Smith really has an agenda that's horrible. He's letting the memories restore, so he watches her suffer after she's fatally wounded the man she loves, but had her memories erased about it, timing it so they come back after she's already fatally wounded, and he made sure that she has. Anyway, back to you guys.
Wow.
So I have this thing you gave me a video of this, and it's just running. I can't stop it. So that's what's in the background. So I'm just going to ask another quick question. So your passion and creativity obviously is stolen. What did you mean? What did you want for this to be represented as?
Go ahead, Christine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking Tom. So you want to know what was the theme of what was stolen from me? Okay. Well, in essence, from my Private Benjamin story, like the professor said, it was the best material that had ever crossed his desk. And what I was sharing about it was, kind of a romance comedy. It wasn't a deep story like Tom has, with those kinds of layers to it. But it was about, girl power. And let us not forget, this Private Benjamin, I'm totally aging myself, came out in the 70s. Okay. So, before all the women's libbish stuff was out. And so I think it was a precursor for some of that in kind of a humorous way. And actually, if I had given myself the opportunity to finish the whole story of it, it would have had the dark side of the moon on that, because I had some near-death experiences when I was in the military and had gone through a variety of wake-up calls to this and that. California Beach Bunny Girl was introduced to very interesting times. I'll put it that way. And I learned to kind of, like you say, not fall apart. There were women I was in the military with that had to get out, and they couldn't handle it for one reason or another. But it really, the gift for me was that I got to recognize my own fortitude, and that I didn't have somebody that I could run home to. I was 6,000 miles away from home. My parents did come to visit me once, and they wanted to go to Munich, and I said, "Oh, heck no, we're going to Paris. I've been there." So, but yeah, so if I were to look in retrospect, that story of starting out at a young age and going into this whole other, it's like going to another planet, really, to Germany, and to be in the whole social political arena of females it was a time when they were starting to go into the military like never before. So it was, very, it was an innovative experience. I'll put it that way. But I think all the bumps along the road there that I had, and it was, I was nearly killed a couple of times. But because I learned to move through it and past it, I'm pretty much a fearless person. And Michael, I think you could probably attest to what I'm saying, because you were in the military and you've, I'm sure, encountered some pretty heavy duty circumstances. And when you can rise above it and move forward, and even though in my experience, we were so belittled, in many ways, because I wouldn't date the guys, I was put into a closed off dark room where I was taking, old papers from manuals and what was outdated, removing them and putting new ones in all day long by myself, because I wouldn't date the men. They gave me the worst jobs. And then when I got my gumption up and I said, okay, that's it one day, somebody just said something that said the wrong thing, got my Irish up, and I just stomped out. I said, that's it, I'm done. I am done. And this guy's marching after me. Hey, Private, what do you think you're doing? You know, and I got up to the captain's office and I said, I'm not, no one's treating me like this, what I have just gone through. And he said, okay, hey, you know, you've already invested 9 months into it. How about I make you the, put you on our monthly newsletter, and you could write articles for it, and you could have your little office next to mine so you can't be bugged by anybody. And I said, can I wear a skirt? Yes. Okay. So I was writing these articles that were very sarcastic, but nobody caught on. Okay. And then I had a terrible incident where guys pushed into my apartment, and yeah, it was bad, very, very, very bad. And I got transferred again. The first place that I ended up was a town called Permessance near the French border, near Trier, France, famous for their shoes, but I'll tell you, they were all the wrong kind, clodhoppers. But anyway, I grew up in Southern California. My dad's best friend happened to be African American. I did not ever have any issues around people of color, but I turned out to be the only Caucasian female in the unit. And every night I was told by the women that they were going to, you know, bury my honky ass, okay, suffocate me, whatever. And so I literally cried my way out of that place, went to the next, where I had the issue where I was locked up in this room because I wouldn't date the men. Then I had a terrible experience, and then I was shifted off to another place. But the third place was interesting, and I ended up teaching swimming to the children at the German Schwimmbad, much to the chagrin of some of the others, but nevertheless. And I fell in love for the first time with a wonderful man and had many adventures, and that's a whole story in and of itself. But again, back to Goldie Hawn version, Private Benjamin, the underlying politics, if you will, or what have you, was there, you know, and
yeah.
I really wanted to show women that in spite of, you can stand your ground with dignity and grace. And that's
that movie would have been so much different if you'd been able to inject some of the trauma that you went through, because some of that trauma has been, you know, a great impetus for your success, you know, with the other work that you've done.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to tell you one trauma story, if I may. Is it okay on your show?
It's up to you. Yeah. Okay,
I'll tell you one trauma story. So when I had gone, you know, you go to boot camp, and then I went to Fort Gordon, Georgia, I think it was, or was it Fort McClellan, Alabama, I guess, to learn the Signal Corps stuff. Then I came home before going to the to Germany, and I was home for a month. And I went to mail a letter, and I walked out in my 504 jeans and t-shirt and sweater and socks and sandals and mailed the letter. And I thought, God, it's a beautiful day. I used to be, I used to surf all the time. So I'm going to go down and see if I can see some of my surfing buddies. So I go down to San Clemente Beach, and it's around dusk. It's in May, the month of May. And I walk out, and I'm looking, and all of a sudden I feel this body next to me. It's this giant Marine. And he goes, looks like it's going to be a nice sunset. And I got this immediate OMG, right? And I grew up in San Clemente near Count Pendleton. There was always that flavor. You know, young girls were always being harassed in one way or another, and you just learned to kind of deal with it. So I said, yeah, it is. And I turn around and leave. He goes, do you mind if I walk with you? Yes, I do. And he stopped me by the arm and he said, kiss me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was low tide, so there was no surfer buddies out there. It was pretty much a barren beach. And I said, please get your hand off of me. And I saw one other guy down the about 50 yards away, and he goes, don't even bother yelling at, he's my buddy. And he was. And they both dragged me under the railroad tracks underneath and tore all my clothes off. And I was brutally raped for hours and told how I would be killed and how I would be in the newspaper with a broken neck and this and that. And at one point I knew I had an opportunity where I could run, where they didn't have me. I wasn't restrained. And I had visions of being younger where my older brother would chase me on the beach and he would always catch me. And I thought, they'll drown me. I'm not going that way. So like I said, I was barely 19 years old, and it was the innate psychologist came out in me, and I put on the best Academy Award act where I soothed the main rapist and said, I really think I'm falling in love with you. Please don't leave me, and don't tell me you're just going to stay and you're not. I want you to come home with me. And I'm stroking his back and all this. And he's like, yeah, okay. And I said, your friend can come too. I don't want him to be out in the cold. And, and I'm in the military. And he goes, yeah, we can get married. I mean, right? Oh, yeah. So I am walking at 10 o'clock at night down the beach in the dark, 1 foot at a time. In my head, the mantra, I will live, I will live, I will live. And all of a sudden I stopped. I said, it's really cold. Do you mind? Can I put my clothes on? I mean, this is how it was. Okay. So the friend grabbed my torn up clothes and I wrapped them around me, put on the jeans as best I could. And when we walked to the pier, it was as if I had divine intervention, because there was a little cafe with the light on. It was open and there were surfers in there sitting at this like cafe bar. And I said, it's so cold. Why don't we have coffee? Okay. So we walk in slowly. As soon as I walked in and there were other live humans, I broke away, sat down at the stool. The surfer looks at me and goes, hey, babe, how's it going? And I could barely talk. And the guy behind the counter, I said, rape. He said, what? I said, rape. He grabs a butcher knife and leaps over the counter after the guys. And the other surfers, because there was like a lot of the surfers in the military didn't get along. They were on different, perceived sides of the pole or whatever. Anyway, they thought that he just had animosity towards the Marines, and they grabbed him, the guy with the knife, and let them take off. The police were called. They turned it over to the military. The military does nothing.
Wow.
Okay, nothing. Oh, and then you hear, and then, like I said, I had multiple incidences I won't go into at this time, but where in those days, at least, they were just sent off. There was no martial courts or anything, martial law or anything like that happening. It was like, okay, but I survived that. Part of me really resented the fact that my parents didn't say, okay, you're not going to the military, you're going to stay home. But I was a week later on my way to Germany. And I thought, like what parent would allow their kid that just went through this to do, but what I learned and what I want to inspire other people, those kinds of resentments, there's a bigger plan, because my soul, I know, signed up for all of this because I moved past it and actually felt more empowered. And people would say, can you still go to beaches? Can you go to San Clemente? Oh, yeah. Because other people that have been victims of violence, they associate the geography of it, or, you know, some familiarity, and they, oh, I can't do that, I can't do it. It's like, no one is holding me back from taking a bite out of life in any way, and being, you know, being truly present for who I am and what I need to do and what I'm inspired to do, and to really help others. Yeah.
We're definitely happy you pushed through that, and now you're sharing all this great work. Tom, I know you've been through traumatic experience as well.
My heart goes out to you guys. I'm so sorry. You know, it's just like, I do want to share something though, that they, like, when they translated over to the Matrix, I don't want to just, I'm trouble just jumping to this now after that story.
I'm sorry.
There's a pause. So it's like, you know, that deserves attention, what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a documentary, a real life story like they're talking about in mine, that yours deserves that.
Yeah.
You know, so it feels weird going right into my situation, but if I would just say, the idea of cause and effect that's in the Matrix, right? Like people's choices, this kind of applies what you were talking about, people's choices. My belief system was that God knows every choice we're going to make, and that as his children, that every choice we're going to make, he knows ahead of time, and that he gives us clues to that. Remember I said I wanted to see his face. I wanted to prove ourselves. I get like a chance instead of revelations to prove ourselves as his children. And these things keep happening to me now, like this clothespin right here. The name Greg is on it, right? What's interesting about this clothespin is we did the garage sale, got my mom safely down to Texas now, right under the nose of that FBI congressman. If you know my story, that he's been trying to, you know, Baker Act constantly. What? Because I wrote this.
I've been to an event where probably CIA type came and targeted you.
Yeah, right there. Yeah. And so what you have,
for you.
So yeah, thank you. And it's like, so I put on all these clothes my mom was selling, including all their stuff, have a garage sale while we're doing interviews, while we're clearing the house out, getting ready for sale, the Matrix house. And so I'm taking clothespins down. I'm thinking about the guy who worked with me. He was like a childhood friend that worked on the fight sequences with me and did an affidavit to that effect. And he had been proof or seen that the work was finished in '93. So I'm thinking about Greg and how I don't see Greg anymore, and I'd like to contact Greg. The next clothespin I picked up was this, and it had Greg on it. And there's another example of this I want to share with you, just to give encouragement to people, that God, I believe, not to be preachy here, but I believe God knows like you said, Christine, he allows us to go through these things because I think the creative work in our case is coming out of what we've gone through. You had to be a dark place to write the Matrix, right? And your story is riddled with that also. And so what I learned is that, like, another thing, I was thinking the other day about Game of Thrones, because that was done in-house with Warner Bros. And HBO, who put their names on my copyright title, Mortals. And then I was thinking about the tickler, believe it or not. Now, here's another example of the clothespin idea. Is God there? Does he have everything there instead of just red dress, cause and effect? Or are we slaves to that? Or does God already have a plan for us and working together to make everything happen exactly as he wants it in his timing? So what happens is I'm thinking about the tickler, that very phrase, the tickler, which was a torturer in the Game of Thrones, if some people are familiar with that series like that. And so then I go to play this podunk game, which as a creative, you probably realize, you know, like you'll do something non-thinking to free your mind. You have to do an activity to free your mind from constant creativity. So I picked this, not to knock it, World of Tanks. It's so simple, it's insane. It's like peeling an orange. So I'm playing World of Tanks just to just do it, you know, just to clear my mind. And the first tank I'm facing is the tickler. It's all the names I could choose. So I'm going to say God knows exactly what our future is, our interactions, what choices. And the beauty of it is, if we are one of those that serve instead of feel entitled, we have a beautiful future ahead to meet amazing people like yourselves together and do great work. And it's almost like I feel God's blessing us ahead of time because he knows we're going to make good decisions. And in the Matrix itself, the idea is also like you can trust yourself, you can trust others, that beautiful relationships, the remnant kind of idea. It's like, I believe in the Matrix itself. What I was trying to put in there was God, man tries to outwit God, God outwits man, because God already knows this is what's going to happen. Man doesn't realize God already has it planned out. So we keep getting these clues that show us. I mean, there's no debating it.
That is amazing.
And more as we get to the finality of our journeys, we realize we have nothing to feel sorry about, nothing to feel guilt or anything. We've walked the impossible walks, the impossible dream. And to do that, you come to a beautiful time where you realize you walked a golden walk and you get to share it with others. It's like that Troy movie. I was in the time of Achilles. I was in the time of Ajax. I was in the time of Christine. I was in the time of Michael Jaco. And it's like, I celebrate this time because we've done well. We've done very well. The audience, the world will catch up to realize our work. We have the proof and everything. And the more the other side dance, the more they're going to be confused and run. But what's happening right now, one last thing, I don't need to take up all the time, but what's happening right now is Netflix is trying to do a takeover of Warner Brothers, but they're all the same animal. The same people are at Netflix that are at Warner Brothers. And you got this thing with the Obamas now. The Obamas did this huge investment. It says the Obamas are connected to Netflix through their production company, Higher Ground Productions. They signed a multi-year deal with Netflix to produce television shows and movies. They're going to try to claim credit for The Matrix along with Warner Brothers. Meanwhile, Paramount's trying to do a hostile takeover because the same execs that were at my deposition went to Paramount and went to Netflix. So what you got is Netflix and Paramount both vying for claim of the Matrix story, which we're going to reclaim now that high-level attorneys are stepping forward and say, we can do this. Gold words to my ears. We can do this because Matrix was never claimed. So the Den of Thieves is battling right now. I want to encourage writers out there, all of you. They're battling over my very work and the Neuralink. They're battling over it, which is the signal of their downfall. The Obamas won in. Think of that. Warner Brothers battling with Paramount for Netflix when all their execs are all over the place in those organizations. I'll leave it at that. Thank you for letting me share all that. Golden times ahead. I am honored to have lived this life. Know you guys. Like you feel my excitement. Honored to meet you. Honored to do what we did. And I believe in the future, we're all going to be very dynamic. And yes, we'll talk fast and we'll be very layered in our expressions and feelings because that's what we're going to evolve into. So if you can't keep up, start practicing feeling happy, beautiful, loving, and just exercise that quick thinking. That's what we're going to be in the future. So,
and may I just say this? I'm so glad this is not AI. Guess what? Our conversation is coming intrinsically from who we are. Okay.
Yep.
And when I talk about, like, you're a writer, I'm a writer, we're speakers. Words have frequencies. There is an essence, not what you say, how you say it, but also the words that you string together. And so I'm very honored to have met and gotten to know both of you. You have my utmost respect and honor.
You said something so important, Christine. The reason the agents are robot-like in the original is they're not allowed to show feeling. We can show feeling off the charts to our loved ones, to each other, to our audiences. We can show feeling. Our passion and our amplified passions are what make us separate from the other side that takes our work. Writer's block, I think, comes from lack of feeling, lack of intensity, lack of passion. If you've got the passion we have, probably you won't feel a lot of writer's block because it's just going to be coming and coming and coming and coming. And that's why I play World of Tanks, because I have to take a break sometime for the creativity. But you guys rock. Thank you for this. Thank you for this. And all the inserts. Yeah, so much fun.
Yeah.
I think writer's block often comes from the ego.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank
the ego is what
Yeah.
blocks us because we're so, sometimes more interested in how somebody's going to receive what we say rather than speaking from the heart,
Yes.
the higher heart. And when I help people to download the right words for what they really want to say in my relationship process, my inspired heart letters, it's because I have my own ego. I don't have the clients. So I leap over that and jump into their higher heart and help them. It's a cooperative procedure.
Thank you for saying
process.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. Because I will tell people too, if you want to write great work, get rid of your arrogance, get rid of your ego, do it as a service, and learn true compassion and humility. Then you'll work great because you won't have that thing turning in the back of your mind about I'll be famous, I'll get money, I'll get laid. You'll be doing, I'm going to serve. I want to do the best possible. Let me tell a passionate story. It's like the old stories in the ancient times where they go around the campfire and the storyteller would come and share a story, would enliven the children, and they'd feel it just from the words around a campfire or by the fireside. And that's how they did in the mid-ages even. And we are storytellers once again in the purest form, all of us. And that's what it needs to be, not this mega monopoly on, you know, like Joel Silver said, I don't create art, I acquire it. Well, you have to have it come from some source. Back to the fireside, back to the honest feelings for each other and lifting, and humanity will have a good end and a good course in development. But thank you for this, guys. A pleasure, real pleasure.
Yeah, thank both of you. This is amazing share, and you know, sharing like this, you know, will awaken people, and you know, awaken people to the corruption that's out there. And you know, I've seen in the chat there's a lot of people talking about how they know people that had their work stolen as well. So it's not a we're not the only ones.
Not at all. No.
There's many have gone through this. So you guys both have amazing stories. So thanks for sharing. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just like to add my book is also an Audible, and I laced in all the music that I wrote through my Love Letters by Tina Rose, my performer's name. My middle name is Rose, album. And that's all in Audible. And
Very nice.
So that was a fun experience to do. And I'm
Excellent.
very happy to
You
share
have both
that.
your links in the description box. So if anybody wants to see any of your work or participate, I know, Christine, you actually have people that you work with. So that's fantastic. So definitely, you know, connect with them any way you want. So thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
you.
Yes.
Wow, that was